everyone, and welcome to Write This Moment, the podcast where we share our writing journeys through every chaotic moment.
We're your hosts, Peyton and
Brittany.
and today we're going to be talking all about us. We're super important and you need to get to know us about our writing life and writing journeys throughout our, we're in our mid-20s. Oh my God.
When did that happen?
Oh my God, we've been friends for like 10 years.
Hmm.
So that's pretty insane. And we've never met in real life.
So tragic. It's the most tragic thing in my entire life, I think.
I know, but we still connect over our love of books and our love of writing books. So it's been a great journey together, and here we are doing this.
Doing a podcast.
I know. So my name is Peyton. I have had the channel Peyton Reads for like a million bajillion years, 11 years, talking about books, reading, and writing. And I am 23. I did graduate with an English degree, so that was fun sometimes. That was fun. A lot of reading, short stories, and I wrote short stories and I wrote a screenplay that was pretty awful, but mermaids, so that's at least fun. So, yeah, always write fantasy or, horror, thriller twist. That's my thing. But I have not been writing throughout college unless it was really for school. So sometimes I would have classes, like I mentioned, where we were writing short stories or screenplays or things, but I really was focused on actually graduating. And I have been graduated for a year. And I have a job where I work in marketing, which I do a lot of writing for that job, actually. Like I write our newsletters and I write a lot of things that end up going on social media or the website. So I do a lot of writing and like I have that English degree, but I have not really got to do my creative writing the way that I've missed doing. So really the last like 6 months I've gotten way back into gear with my writing and like I've had this idea that's been circling in my head and I'm like super excited to make it an actual focus in my life again because I feel like I was super focused on school and getting everything done rather than the things that give me like actual joy. Like I feel like I'm fulfilling something in my life when I actually am writing. Like having written feels so good. Like knowing that I actually did that, I feel so good. And I just want to prove to myself that I can write a good book. I know I can write something, but I want it to be good.
Hmm.
And I really want to create this space, this creative career. Like I want that. That's what fulfills me. So that's why I'm here. And that's why I'm here with Brittany, because Brittany's like a genius. She has written a lot of things. So I'm gonna pass it to her and she's gonna let us know about her writing journey throughout her life.
It's been a long one.
Yes.
So I'm currently 24. I am almost 25. We're a couple months out from my birthday, as my uncle reminded me today. And I was like, whoa, how did we get here?
I'm about
Uh,
to turn 20.
four.
Wait. Yeah, I'm about to turn 24. So we both about to get older.
That's how birthdays
It's
and
crazy.
years work.
It's crazy.
Um, yeah, so I've been writing most of my life. I believe I first started really getting into writing when I was like 5 or 6 years old. So it's been about 20 years, which
Yeah,
sounds crazy. You're
it
like,
is
what do you mean?
crazy.
And the first story that I remember writing was about a dragon. And it was
Oh,
actually like a school assignment where like the paper had like a dragon on it and everything. Like it was one of those printout things, had lines and all of that.
that's
And I
cool.
had to ask for more paper, which I always had to do. I always felt so cool because I wrote so much, but in reality, I just had really big writing that took up more space than it should have. But yeah, it was about a dragon named Elizabeth, named after my best friend at the time. And it's a story about a dragon.
It's
Very weird.
beautiful.
I also
That's all
had a
you need.
story. Thank you. I also had a story about a kid who lost his first tooth, and it was like he had to go on a little adventure. It was
Oh,
called
that's so
Max and the
cute.
Great Tooth Adventure or something like that.
I love
Um,
that.
yeah, so I've been writing since I was like 5 or 6, and it's funny because my writing at first leaned more fantasy most of the time.
Really?
Yes. It's so strange. Like in grade 6, I wrote a story called Eerie Mysteries. And it was kind
Oh.
of like a supernatural story where like this dude, I don't know why I was writing in the POV of a middle-aged man when I was 11, but I was. And he like stumbled into this like creepy little store and like found a book of like spells or something and he got like cursed. I don't even fully remember, but like
This
I used
sounds
to write
good.
fantasy. It was not. It was not. It was like 60 something pages, and I was so proud of myself. And then I also had a story about vampires and about like angels, and like I very much so used to write fantasy, which is so
Yeah.
strange because all I have written for the past decade is like YA contemporary romance.
And she loves romance.
I do. You can look at my shelves. There's a lot of romance here if you are watching the podcast. Um, Yeah, so I've primarily written YA romances. That's my sweet spot. That's what I love to read. That's what I love to write. And I think I've written 8 books.
That's crazy.
Yeah, 3 of which I think I've revised to some sort of completion that I deem query ready. Because I did start querying back in 2021, and I'm now on the 3rd project that I'm querying. Unfortunately, I am very much so in those query trenches trying to get traditionally published. It's been a rough
It's
ride.
rough.
It's so rough. It's so rough. I've also written one adult rom-com that I might revise this summer. We'll see.
Yes.
And that was very intimidating for me to write in the adult space because I was stuck in YA for so long. And I feel like I just know how to write YA at this point. My YA voice is down. But I do have an adult romance that I've written. I want to write middle grade one day. But I very much so stay in my lane of like romance. Although I'd like to write a ghost book one day. We'll have
You
to see.
should, you should. I'm
Oh,
writing Ghost Book.
I know you are. I don't know if I'm big brained enough for that,
I
you
will
know?
say fantasy and things like that, like paranormal, it is so overwhelming
Hmm.
because sometimes you're creating a whole world, which the book that I wrote like 15 billion times, that book, I mean, 100,000 words of my life, and then I think I had a whole draft that was 50,000 words separately. Like I wrote so much for that book, and I mean, creating a whole world, like it was a high fantasy, so complicated, and I was not plotting. So literally, like your brain just feels like it's gonna explode, but at the same time, I don't know if I could do what you do
Hmm.
with just a cute YA like romance. Like I don't know if I have the skills to create something like cute like that that has nothing magical going on because I just like throw something crazy at them, you know? I'm like, how do you write something that's not the most devastating thing ever? Like these like you know, like how do
Yeah.
we not one of my professors told me I was melodramatic, and I'm like, honestly, I am.
I
Like,
love
she said, like, you need to have the balance with your melodrama. I'm like, I know. Because I write something and it is going to be intense and dark. And you write such, things that make you smile. So that's something I don't know how to do. So, like, I
that.
bow down to that. It is a
Thank you.
skill.
It's a nice compliment. They are definitely 2 different skill sets. Um,
Yeah.
because they're different. They're so different. And I don't know if I have what it takes as current modern day Brittany to write an actual good fantasy or, paranormal in the way that little Brittany felt like she could, you know? Because those weren't good. And I maximum wrote like maybe 10, 15,000 words. I don't even know. Of any given story that was fantasy, and I just like ran out of steam. I also didn't outline. I don't know. I also tried to write a
Yeah.
fantasy book in high school, that just like never went anywhere. I had like one character or these two characters that like I desperately wanted to put into a fantasy book, and I just kept coming up with new plots and none of them felt right, and I could never like expand upon them. I'm just not that kind of writer. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I wrote my first book when I was 16, 15, 15. I started writing it in 2016. Oh, was it? Oh, I think no, it was 2015. But I finished it in 2016, and then I wrote my second book later that year during NaNoWriMo. Um, yeah, so I've been writing novels for about a decade, which is crazy.
That is crazy. And super impressive because
Thank
it
you.
takes a lot of discipline that
Hmm.
not everybody has, like me included. Like I know I have it in me, but I have let so many like procrastinating things impact my progress. So I
Hmm.
feel like it is something to be like, yes, Brittany, you've done so much. So I'm in awe of everything that you have accomplished with it. And I just, I want to be like you. I want to pop out the books because, yeah, like I just take forever.
Yeah. What's wild is in high school, in I think it was grade 10, me and my friends started a writing club, and we had to have a teacher sponsor the club. And the teacher that we got to sponsor the club was an English teacher, and I did not like him all that much. And we told him that I was writing a book, and he was the kind of pretentious little prick
Oh.
who had written like a really like tiny little book, and it was like I think he self-published it or maybe like from a little indie publisher, so he thought he was hot shit, because it's
Hmm.
one book that nobody had heard of. And like it could have been great. Maybe it was. I don't know. I didn't like his vibes. And he told me, he was like, "You shouldn't be trying to write a book in high school." And I was like, "What do you mean?" Like I got mad at him. I was
That's
like,
so crazy.
I'm not trying to publish it as a teenager. But I'm like, if I have the discipline, if I'm working hard, then by the time I'm older, I will have more practice and like more things under my belt, and I will be a better writer for it. Like, why would I just sit around not writing a novel when I know that I
Yeah,
can write a novel and I want to? Like, it was just like the weirdest thing to say to
it
a kid
is.
who is dreaming of being a writer. Like, why would you tell me I shouldn't do something when I'm currently in the middle of doing that thing? So
It's also
clearly I
just
can do
so
it.
it's strange because like one of the biggest writing advices is to just keep writing and how
Yeah.
however many words you write or whatever, and even if you trash it, like every time you do it, you get better. And every time you read, you log more information from that too. So
Mhm.
to just actively tell you not to practice is so strange.
He I did not like him. He wasn't even my teacher. He was just my friend's
Interesting.
teacher, and I would sometimes sit in their class because I had a free period. Um, I did not like him. I'm like, why would you say that to somebody? That's so discouraging. Like, what if I just took that advice and just didn't write my book? Like, what do you mean? What a loser. I
I will
no.
say I feel like it is, we are a special group of people that like are even trying. It's so rare that you come across someone who says they are like actively writing a book.
Mhm.
So, what a weird man. We're just hating
Yeah,
on this man. Like I feel like that's something that should be, I mean, looked upon as like, oh wow, that's awesome.
right?
Instead
Like, you
of
think that he would have
like
been trying to, like, foster that, like, creativity and that, like, motivation and drive instead of trying to tear me down and telling me that that's something I shouldn't do.
especially
Wild.
in the era of like social media and screens, we were at the age when that was really like increasing. So it's
Mhm,
wild that you wouldn't be excited that one, a kid is reading, and
mhm.
two, they want to write and like make their own books. Like that's super,
Yeah, and then I had other
super
teachers who were
stupid.
like, "Oh my god, I love that you're writing. I can't wait to read your books one day." And I'm like, "This." Maybe he was jealous. Maybe he didn't get to it until later in life, and he was like, "Oh, this 16-year-old."
He wanted to be you. So the first novel that like I actually tried to write. I don't even know if you know about this one, but my dad knows about this one. This is like one of the things that he just always remembers for some reason, and he uses it as a joke. Like how, because my main character, her dad owned a pizza place, and it was called Poppy's Pizzeria. And I
Stop, that's
let
so
my
cute.
I know. I loved like restaurant, like the idea of like a family owning a restaurant. I've
Mhm.
always thought that was so good. Everyone that I know or have come across that had a family own a restaurant, they're like, it's not fun. Like I got this romanticized view in my head.
Mhm.
But my dad, I let him read a snippet like one time and he just never let go of Poppy's Pizzeria. So sometimes he's like, "How's the Poppy's Pizzeria?" I'm like, It's not happening because it was
That's
horrible.
so funny. No, you gotta
So
write that into a book one day. That's too good.
I can make the characters eat at Poppy's Pizzeria.
Please, it'll be a
But
little Easter egg.
it sounds like a cute book. Like her
Mhm.
dad owns this pizzeria. No. I always have a dark twist, okay? So
What
her
did you
dad
do?
goes missing. Like, what did I call this book? I feel like I had a name. I think the main
Poppy's
character was,
Pizzeria.
it should have been. It should have been. But I was writing this, I was probably in middle school. So that's like when I was getting serious. Like,
Mhm.
I wrote some stupid things, but like, this was when I was like, I am a writer. Like I'm gonna be a bestseller, you know?
Mhm.
Um, so I was like researching things, like I was really trying to figure it out. I set it in Tennessee at a specific town that I found out that I think it was like Franklin, Tennessee. I found out the Miley Cyrus's family like is from there, and I didn't even know that.
Oh,
But
okay.
I just like Google Maps it. I'm like, this looks like the cutest little town. Like, this is where it's gonna be. Like, I love a small town book, and I feel
Mhm.
like that's gonna be a thing that continues throughout my books. It's just like a cute little small town because I'm
Mhm.
from a small town, so I like it. But her dad goes missing, but he's not missing. Okay, he did it on purpose. Like, it's it's crazy. So she says, "Where's the mom?" She wasn't in the picture, so her dad goes missing. It was bad. It was bad. Okay.
That sounds good. I feel like you could take the bare bones of that and turn it into something good. I'm hooked.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Like, I wanna read about Poppy's Pizza. I'm with your dad on this.
And there was a
How is
guy
Pop
that worked there that was her man. They had like a little
Oh,
romance.
I
So I had a
need this.
romance.
I need it. Poppy's Pizzeria? How are they doing? Put them
That's what
back
my
in
dad
business.
says.
Put them back in business. We need some
I
pizzas around
know.
here.
I know. And honestly, I don't remember the moment that like I gave up. I think it was more so I got the idea for my fantasy book and I was like,
Mhm.
bye, Poppy. Bye,
Poor
Poppy.
Poppy.
It's
He's still missing. We're still trying to
he
find
is still
Poppy.
missing. There was like this crazy plot line with like a mistress and like he just abandoned his kid. It was bad. It
Oh
was
my,
bad.
I feel like you
So
definitely can try to do something with that in the
it'd
future
be
if
like
you
a
ever felt like
thriller.
it. Like, imagine your dad asks you how Poppy's Pizzeria is doing, and you have an answer for him. You're like, you know what, Dad? Keep me baking those pizzas.
That'd be
Wait,
so
this is.
funny.
That
This is the
actually sounds
only
good.
thing he remembers. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I was cooking up something good. I didn't
Pizza.
even know it. Yeah, the Poppy's pizza. But yeah, so I got my idea for my fantasy book, and I guess this is a funny story. I forget about this sometimes, but you know it. I
Hmm.
got the idea for my fantasy book from Breaking Part 2. I was watching, as we all know, the scene, spoilers, but we've all seen it. Let's be real.
Hmm.
The moment when Carlisle's head gets pulled off, and then Robert Pattinson, like, he's like growling, he's angry. I was like, oh my gosh, his face, his whole expression, he's so angry. And then I was like, I don't even know how this is like related, Like, but I just got a vision of a girl who also was in a similar situation. She just witnessed something like that. And she's like, "Oh my God, I'm about to kill everybody." And like she's killing everybody. That's literally what came to my head in a fantasy world.
Hmm.
And my main character, I don't even feel like I really shared things with you because I had so many like little plot twists.
You were being very cagey about it. So like you did send like snippets all the time, but like you wouldn't tell like certain like plot points. Like I could not tell you what this book's about, but I
Yeah,
could tell you how I felt when I read some snippets. Like they were good. I know the main
thank
character's
you.
name, like I know names, I know the title, but like you're right. I feel like you kept so much like so close to your chest.
I
And then
did.
you never finished it. You never sent it to me, and I feel robbed, honestly. It's been a decade. Give
I
it to me.
know.
I
I
feel robbed.
know. I can't even imagine open up that file. I do know because the final scene of the book is what I got the idea from. Like
Mhm,
something crazy happened. So I think I've reread like that because I knew that I had so many visuals about it. Like it wasn't bad. I think I had something there, but
mhm.
everything's getting there is absolute dumpster fire. Like,
Feel like again, I feel like you could come back to this story, especially with like the experience and the knowledge that you're getting writing your current book. I feel like you could bring that to this fantasy book and make it something really special. Because
okay,
I
well
feel like
then I
you
won't spoil everything then.
okay, but like you've got the brain for fantasy. Like I feel like you can do it. I believe in you. You know this. I'm your
Thank
biggest
you.
fan, biggest believer.
Thank you.
And I need it after all these years. Like you're killing me over here.
Thank you. Well, then I won't spoil you for
Okay.
all the twists. Because there were some pretty like there's things that always stayed because I had various different like drafts, but we never got like a clean draft where if I shared it to somebody, it would make sense to anyone but me. Because
Mhm.
unfortunately, I'm the type of writer who just I cannot have a plan and stick to it. So like even if I
Mhm.
had a loose plan, my character is gonna surprise me. I can't tell you how many times I switched the love interest. Like she was with every person in the cast.
Yeah.
You know?
You
I
know
was
what?
just
As she
seeing
should
what
be.
the vibes. I know.
She should just be with everybody.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, I had to test out everything just to see like which one which one works
Mhm.
or if it's all of them. It don't matter. Like it
Yeah.
was fun. But it did have elemental magic. I love things like that. The fae, the fairies. I feel like one, that's like super popular now. So like you said, I probably could like take some pieces and like revive it one day. But I
Mhm.
think for now, I need to let it stay dead because I feel like I was
Yeah.
just going in circles.
Mhm.
Um, and now we have moved on. I did write that novella for my senior project, but I
Yes.
don't really count that because once again, it was like for a class, and I probably wouldn't have written it if I wasn't forced to do that. So it
But you
wasn't
still wrote
really,
it,
I did.
and it was good. I helped you edit it.
You did. It was called Blue, and
Mhm.
it was once again dark and twisted, school shooting book. Like, why did I do that? But
It
it
was
was on
very
my
relevant.
mind. It
Yeah.
was relevant. It was
Like
right when that huge one happened in Florida, and it was making me bothered. So I was just like, I want to talk about how kids shouldn't be like fearing for their lives all the time, you know? So
mhm. And like you were
I,
one of those kids. Like you were in school
I
in
was
America.
senior year, and I just know
So
like
yeah.
my teachers would cry to us saying like I hate that y'all ever have to fear. Like it was on my mind. So it
Mhm.
definitely wasn't like a I don't know, something weird like where I wanted to be the shooter. Like no, like it was not a fantasy. It was very much like just in the kid's head of like why why is this something happening to us? But I I don't want to reread that one.
It
I
was
know I would
good.
hate it.
No, it was
Thank you.
good. You're
I
welcome.
know, but it was so many years ago.
Didn't you write a zombie book or like a zombie short story as well that I also helped edit?
Yeah, so that one was a short story.
Mhm.
Um, and I did really like that one. I will say it was for a class, and I was in a creative writing class. One of the scariest things ever because it really was like a workshop.
Mhm.
So we would all read each other's stories and we'd come to class and there'd be a whole section of positives and then a whole section of like, let's tear this apart, you know?
Mhm.
But it was so fun. It was such a good experience. And I continued to go on and I had people come up to me and be like, I really like I still remember your story. Like I really liked it. And this was like a year later, and I'm like, that's so cool
Yeah.
that they remembered my story like that. So it meant something to me. So I'm like, oh, I really did like the zombie story because I
Hmm.
love zombie apocalypse stuff. So that's something, honestly, I could jump into that later because I do feel like I had something there. Scared my teacher. She was because you know how I wrote it? Like the actual main character was twisted and
Hmm.
she was like hurting the children because she was taking care of these kids and she did not know how to get them to be quiet. So she kept like, I mean, she was abusing them because she didn't know what to do. And my teacher was like, this is so messed up. And I'm like, I know, but like, that's the point. Like, we're in an apocalypse. Well, and she's a kid. So I don't feel like she would have handled it well, you know? So
Hmm.
dark and twisted.
That's your thing.
It is, and that's where we have moved on to now. My main thing is my adult horror. Everything I've ever written has been YA, and I feel like I've just transitioned. It's more of a new adult situation.
Hmm.
Because the characters are like my age, like graduated from college, like just freshly out of that time period. So it's not quite adult. Like I don't feel like we're with the Stephen King world, you know, like they're in their 30s or whatever. Like no. Like this is still younger people, I feel like
Hmm.
um coping with paranormal activity in a small town. So like you can see the inklings
Hmm.
and dark and twisted characters, but I always have a romance side plot. Like everything I do is gonna have a romance because I really enjoy that. Um, and it's gonna be like an investigation. So they're not trying to be together, but they're investigating something together. And you know, when you're really invested in something and you're the only two people that will listen to each other, it just naturally becomes a thing. And friends to lovers. So,
I'm
yeah.
so excited. Everything you've shown me for this book has me so excited. I helped you brainstorm it in the
You
beginning.
did.
I'm
You've been
so
so
excited.
helpful.
I'm glad.
Thank
I'm
you.
so excited for this book.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's your turn. That was like my very quick history of life, and now you have a lot more. So I don't know how
I,
you're gonna do this.
I do. The first book I wrote when I was 15, 16, was called Lost Girl. You have read it, Peyton,
I did.
which makes me cringe inside
I might
because
have read it twice.
why?
I don't know. I feel like I read it twice.
I'm so
Maybe I'm
sorry.
making it up. But
Maybe, I don't know. I'm so sorry.
it's a
Uh,
long time ago.
it was like a decade ago. Um, it, how do I even describe Lost Girl? It was like about a girl who like was also friends to lovers, and her best guy friend ended up over the summer figuring out that they had feelings for each other, and they started to date, and then he cheats on her
Mm-mm.
like men do. So they break up, and then you know, something tragic happens in her life, and they end up getting back together at some point. It was like it was my first book I'd ever written, and so like I didn't know how to write a book. So I was kind of like throwing everything. It's like throwing spaghetti at the wall, right, and seeing what sticks. That's kind of what I was doing, was just putting everything into this book. Um, and it was bad. I don't recommend. Um,
I
it,
liked it when I read it.
you were what, 14 when you read it? I don't trust 14-year-old
I was
Peyton's opinion.
probably here for the drama. Like it was entertaining.
That's good at least, but it was terrible. I also like only did like a rough edit of it before sending it to you. Like it was not a full-on revision because basically I wrote that book entirely out of order in a Word document. Like didn't organize it at all. So like scenes were just intermingled everywhere that didn't belong. So like I feel like most of the editing was me just putting the pieces in the right spot, like all the different
Oh,
scenes.
wow.
So I feel like I didn't even properly edit it before I gave it to you. Um,
That's crazy because I remember liking it and like I didn't have any like I
you
probably had my critiques, but like I
I was
overall enjoyed it.
I rarely ever think of that book, and like I have that's my first real book, but I have my first book in my head. It's a different book. It's my third book. That's what I consider to be like my first proper book. Um, but the second book I wrote was in that same year.
Rewind.
Rewind, you know.
Yeah.
That book, that one is the only full novel that I've written that does have like some magical element to it. This book is completely different to anything else that I've ever written. Like when I tell you it and I tell you the other books, you're gonna be like, where did this come from?
It's so cool though. I never got to read it,
Oh, I'm so
but it
sorry.
sounds
It's
so
really not
fun.
good. I've reread parts of it. It's really quite atrocious.
Oh
Um,
no.
like worse than Law Scroll. Like it's bad. I also never like it's first draft. Like I never did any editing to this book. I've got it printed out. It's just atrocious. Um, but this book was about my main character, Joe, who uh, is not good. She's kind of, the queen bee, popular girl. Um, and her mom is like really disappointed in her behavior. She's kind of like the rebel. She sneaks her boyfriend into her room, like sneaks out to parties, comes home drunk. Like the opening scene is literally her stumbling into her house drunk. Um,
That's
and so she gets
crazy.
grounded. Yeah, she gets, especially since I don't know what it's like to be drunk, even still as an almost 25-year-old. Like I've never been drunk in my life. Um, anyways, so she stumbles into her house drunk. Her mom catches her, grounds her, and then like right after school, like the next day or whatever, like a little while later, her mom takes her to like this like garage sale, and they find this old typewriter. And Joe used to be a writer, like when she was younger, and her mom's like, maybe this is the key to like get her back to her roots, get her back to how she used to be before she was this popular mean girl. Um, so she buys her this typewriter, and Joe is locked in her room with nothing to do. So she starts to write on this typewriter, and there's something a little magical about this typewriter, and it sends her back to the 1950s, or a kind of like weird alternate reality of her life if it was in the 1950s, because she's still herself. She's just herself of the 1950s, which is a
Hmm.
little odd. And obviously, being of the modern world,
It's
popular mean
weird.
girl, she's not gonna want to be in the fucking 50s.
Yeah.
Um, so immediately she's like, "How do I get back?" Typewriter breaks upon the time travel. So she has to find like this like antique repair store or something. She's like, "Can you fix this typewriter?" And they're like, "It's gonna take us a few days." So she has to like stay a few days in the 1950s, and she's got like these two best friends who are siblings, and she ends up falling in love with one of them, and then like at the end of the book has to decide if she's gonna stay in the 1950s or go back home without this now love of her life.
Oh
Um,
my God, wait. Which one does she choose? I'm invested. I
um,
need to know.
I think I wrote two alternate endings, like two
Oh my
different things.
gosh. So
And I
you
don't
didn't
know.
know.
Well, I think I wanted to explore both, and I don't know if I ever got to the point where I chose one. I think the official first one was she chose to go home, and it was like really heartbreaking. Like so not like happy ever after rom-com vibes. Um, have you ever seen the movie Pleasantville?
No.
Okay, that one has Tobey Maguire in it. You should
Ah,
definitely watch it.
I love
Also,
him.
also Reese Witherspoon. And basically, they get sent back into this like TV show called Pleasantville. That takes place in the 50s. They like get sucked into the TV show, and
Mm.
I'm not going to spoil it, but there's elements of that definitely, definitely influenced my writing of this book. 'Cause I think I watched it for the first time around that time. I also just like got really obsessed with the 50s at that time, like the
I
music, the like,
remember.
outfits. Obsessed. So anyways, that's Rewind, and I don't think I'm ever gonna return to that one either.
It's so fun though. Like I love the premise.
Yeah, I just feel like there's so many things about the 50s that I'm just not gonna want to delve into, So I feel like it's not
Yeah.
not something I'm interested in, but it was a fun thing for the time. really underwritten draft, really bad, but I wrote it. So then we get to my third book, which is what I consider my first real book because it's the first book that I ever revised. So I learned the most with this book, and it's called Reasons Why Not To. And you've read it a couple of times.
Yeah,
That
I
one I
think
know
at
for a
least
fact.
twice.
Yeah, that one I know for a fact you've read more than once. Um, so I started writing this book in 2018, my senior year of high school. And I remember like while at my job, I would like if there was no customers, I would like write down like notes on receipt paper for like book ideas. And it's so funny because the original idea that I had for this book has nothing to do pretty much with what the book ended up being because it was
Interesting.
low key inspired by a real life event and like a what if situation from that event. So I went to a book signing for Zenith by Sasha Alsberg and Lindsay Cummings.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was reading Lindsay Cummings' book, The Murder Complex. And I finished it before the signing, and I really wanted the sequel. And my local Indigo had one copy left. And I was like, great, I'll buy it right before the signing. I get there, and somebody had gotten it before I did.
Oh my God.
And I saw them walking around with it, and I was like, oh no. Like, I was this close to getting it. And so my what if situation was what if that was a cute guy
Oh yeah.
who grabbed the book and then like I went to him and like begged him for this copy. So that was the initial inspiration for Reasons Why Not To was like involving a bookstore and like a cute guy who reads and like begging him to get this like last book in a series that like the main character just desperately needed. Not at all in the book. There's nothing like that in the book. Um, at some point, it turned into a story about anxiety.
Yeah.
Because that was like nowhere in the initial concept. The original concept was like a fun summer book with a bookstore. And then I was suffering with a lot of anxiety in grade 12. It was like at its peak, so much was going on. And so it just naturally found its way into the story. And it turned into a book about my main character who suffers with social anxiety, getting a job at a bookstore, meeting a cute boy who works at the bookstore, and then going to a book festival to meet her online best friends that were loosely inspired by you and Kit, who is
Yeah.
our other best friend that we've been friends with for the last decade. Um, so your character's name was Piper.
Mm-hmm.
So cute. Um, so yeah, that was a really fun book. I wrote that first draft, I think all in 2018. It might have carried to 2019. I honestly can't remember. But I did the third draft of it, I think by I want to say like 2020. I think like beginning of 2020, maybe. And
Maybe.
then you read it. So that was the first draft that you had read was draft three. You gave me your feedback on it, and then I did revisions. And that book nearly broke me because I had to revise the ending so many times because I could never quite get it right. Like I think I rewrote like the back half of the book multiple times. There was the second draft I think was 104,000 words.
Oh wow.
What YA romance needs to be 104,000 words? None of them. So I don't even know what I was doing on that one. Um, Massively cut it down, obviously. I think the book's only like 73,000 words. I have no
That's
idea.
crazy.
I don't even know what I was doing in that draft. I could not tell you. I never want to look back at it. But yeah. Anyways, finished writing that book in 2021, sent it off to this mentorship program called Author Mentor Match. I got into the program, yay, and was mentored by an actual author who was like agented. She had a book deal, um, and revised my book with her. And then I started querying that project in June of 2021. Unfortunately, it died in the trenches, but it's fine.
No, I think it's
But
gonna come back. Like
I hope
I
so.
believe it. Because it's so
I
good.
I want that book to make its way into the world somehow, some way. Um, but we'll have to see. Um, Somewhere along the timeline of Reasons Why Not To, I wrote another book called The Show Must Go On. And once, that was off in the querying trenches, in the querying sphere, I started taking The Show Must Go On, or Tiss and Go, as I like to call it. I took that one more seriously. I think I had 2 drafts of that written, and so I continued to revise it, and that one is a musical theater book. Again, YA romance, and it's fake dating, which is just my
Yeah.
favorite trope of all time. And it definitely was inspired by High School Musical, the musical, the series, and because that was coming out at the time, because I wrote it in 2019. Um, and I also just wanted to write a character that was different than I was, because Lila from Reasons Why Not To, I didn't even say the characters' names. Lila was so similar to me in the terms of the fact she was a booktuber, she loved reading, and she wanted to go to a book festival with her online friends, like, and anxiety. Like, there's so many things about Lila that was essentially like a self-insert, you know, as a lot of people's earlier books have. And I want to try somebody different. And so I was like, what is something different? What is something that I don't necessarily like? And at the time, it was musical theater. Of course, through writing this book, I ended up loving musical theater, so that kind of backfired on me. Um, but yeah, so it was like they were putting on a production of Grease, and it was my main character Ellie's dream to be on Broadway and to be the lead in her school musical, because she always, got on the ensemble, and so she wanted to be the lead, and she gets the lead. But her co-lead, the guy playing Danny, is Sebastian, who is not a theater kid. He is just doing the musical to get his ex-girlfriend back, who is the drama, you know, classes like golden girl, who
Of
always gets the
course.
lead. Yeah, so he's just trying to get her back, by impressing her by doing the musical. Um, they end up in a fake dating situation, and of course, they end up falling in love instead.
Yeah.
And I love that book. Started querying it in 2022. It also died in the trenches.
No.
You never fully read Kiss and Go,
I
did you?
haven't. You gotta send it to me again.
It's
I'm
cool.
really bad at reading them on the computer,
Mm.
so I want to like get it on my Kindle because
You
I
can
can
do
do
that.
that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can fly through it way easier that way because
Okay,
I do not like a computer.
that's fair. I will resend it to you if you promise that you'll read it, and keep in mind that I've not touched that book since 2022.
I'm sure it's still good because I've always loved Reasons Why Not To.
That's
So
nice to hear. I've not looked back at Reasons Why Not To in quite a long time, or Tism Go for that fact. Um, okay, then the next book. I think I wrote my Christmas book next, which I've not
oh,
touched since I wrote it. I every Christmas I'm like, maybe I'll reread it, and then I never do. But it's called All Wrapped Up. It's another fake dating book, and that one I don't want to talk about too much because I don't think I'm gonna do anything with it. But fake dating, between exes. So these exes, have to pretend to date around the guy's family, because he has not told them that they have broken up, and they are obsessed with his ex-girlfriend. So she goes to spend the holidays with them because she has a shitty family life and wants to experience the magical Christmas that he always described. So she ends up agreeing to go with him to their like family cabin, to spend the holidays with them, even though they are no longer together. That one, real shitty, real underwritten, would need a lot of work if I were to ever return to it.
it's
Um,
such a good idea though. I
thank
love
you.
it.
I got the idea before Happy Place by Emily Henry came around, where it was fake dating with
Um,
exes. I was so sad when that book was announced. I was like, what do you mean? I thought that was so unique. I was so
dang
excited
it.
about it.
But
I
hey,
know.
you got the Christmas twist,
I do.
so
It's like
it's
Hallmark
different.
vibes. Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
that book was a lot of fun. I wrote that during an NaNoWriMo, so it was really fun to, be planning that during Halloween time, because I was doing Preptober. That was interesting. Um, yeah, and then I wrote my book, What You Mean to Me, which is Starstruck inspired, the
I love
Disney
it.
Channel original movie. And that one is a really self-indulgent project. I mean, all my projects are self-indulgent. I feel like all your writing projects should be self-indulgent, because like you need to enjoy something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this one is one that's currently in the querying trenches. and when did I first write it? Was it 2022? I feel like it was. Maybe 2021. What are years? I have no idea.
I
Like,
don't know.
concept of time doesn't exist. Um, yeah, so this one is about my main character, Maisie, who wants to be a concert photographer. That is her dream. And she currently has an internship at a music magazine. And her ex boyfriend is Christopher Dean, who is this huge pop star. And they broke up because he was on tour with his band, who they were all like the whole band and her were best friends. And he left the band and then kind of was really not talking to her as much as she should have, like whatever. They broke up. And Maisie's boss at the internship says, I have this opportunity for you to shoot a concert for me. And it turns out that it is Christopher Dean's concert. He's doing a hometown show, and now Maisie has to photograph it, even though she has not seen Christopher since they broke up a year prior. Um, while they are at the show, he spots her in the crowd while she's taking photos in the front row, and he starts to basically serenade her with their song, a song that he wrote to her to tell her that he loved her. And people take videos of this. It kind of goes viral, which is a huge issue because he has a girlfriend that is very public.
Mhm.
And basically, Maisie goes back to her boss and she's like, you did not tell me that you knew Christopher Dean. I now need you to go get an exclusive interview with him. Um,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
I know. So she goes to Christopher and is like, hey, I need a favor. Like, I need this interview from you. And he, feels very controlled by his management. So he's like dying for an escape. And then he finds out that he's still in love with Maisie and wants to get back
Of
together with her.
course he is.
Of course. So his whole motive becomes getting back together with Maisie, while she's just trying to get an interview with him. And she's still very much so burned by what she went through with him. So that's
I
that
love
book.
that one.
Yeah, you have read that one. Good times.
Hmm.
You read that one twice as well, didn't you?
I don't remember.
I
I'm
feel like
like, it's not it's not working in my head right now because I feel like I read Lost Girl twice. Like I don't even know.
I feel like I got you to read Wim Tim. That's what I call it. Twice. Yeah. Anyways, I've
Can't
got some
confirm or
other
deny.
projects. Right. My adult rom com is called Mission Rom Com. I just realized I skipped over an entire book, but I'll get back to it. Um, Adult rom com, loosely inspired by How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, which is my favorite rom com of all time. And it's between a writer who is really struggling with her writing career. Her first book kind of flopped, and so she's trying to like pivot to something else. And then about a book editor who is at this publishing house, and like this big editor is retiring, and he wants to like get her list for himself. Um, and it's like mainly romance books, and he doesn't edit romance books typically. So he ends up sparking a deal where he's like, I can get a girl to fall in love with me to prove that I can like edit romance or something. And then my main character, Harper, he's Austin, she's Harper. Um, she wants to write a rom com, but she doesn't really believe in love, hasn't been in love in a long time. So her friends and her conduct this plan to like enact a rom com in real life, so like to do rom com tropes in real life with somebody, um, to get inspiration to write the book.
Hmm.
So they both have their own agendas, of course, end up falling in love.
Of
That one,
course. I love
like
that.
yeah, that one, like I said, I want to return to in the summer. We shall see if that happens. But that one, I love. That one's exciting. The first draft, garbage, as all of my first drafts are. But I'm
All of our
excited.
first drafts suck.
Yeah,
So
I'm
it's
ex-
okay.
I'm excited about the potential of that book. Um, and then I have another book that I wrote before that one, and I've never publicly said the title, so I'm not going to start now. But the acronym is AMS. And that one's another YA romance. And it's told in a then and now timeline. It was very much so inspired by something I was going through in my life at the time, very loosely. Just like a core idea of like a friendship breakup kind of situation, where you are actually like in love with this friend that you had, and then all of a sudden they stop talking to you, and you have no idea why. So basically, my main character Lucy has this friend named Leo that she was in love with, And then one day he just stops talking to her, and it's been a couple of years, and she's still very much so hung up on this, has no closure from it. Um, and she ends up enlisting his best friend Finn to help like get back in his good graces, and then through this she ends up falling in love for Finn instead.
Okay.
That one also needs a lot of work. I want to return to it. I don't know how to fix it. So I'm kind of like
Mhm.
very intimidated by that book, but that's another one that I've got on the back burner. Um,
Didn't that one
yeah,
like deal with like different timelines and that's why it was
yeah.
harder? Because
Then
that's
it
what
now.
I'm struggling with. Like, I have a lot of history
Mhm.
in my ghost book, and I even told you, like, I was like, is there a book before this one? Like, how am I gonna
Right.
put all of this history in here? And I still am not fully saying no to another book because it just feels like there's so much, and like when you're messing with timelines, it makes it really hard. So I
Yeah.
understand.
I also struggled with like the formatting of the different timelines because originally my initial idea was to do the then timeline completely in an email format. But then I was really struggling with that. So I kind of did a mixture of both for the first draft, doing like some emails, some prose, and hoping that by the time I got to revisions that I would figure out what I preferred and like figure it all out. I don't know. I feel like this book is going to go through a transformation when I return to it. Like I feel like a lot of things about it are going to have to change. I feel like I very much so when I was first writing it was still feeling a lot of the feelings. Like even though it had been a long time since I'd experienced what I was pulling inspiration from, I still very much so was dealing with that. And I think I was too close to the real situation in my head to give the book justice in its own respect, like giving
Makes
the book what it
sense.
needed that was separate from real life. So I feel like going into it, I'll be able to kill some darlings, change some things in a way that's really going to serve the book better. So we're going to see if I ever return to that book. I also think that that one is a quieter book. So I think that querying that one wouldn't be the smartest idea. I feel like it's not hooky enough to try to query. I feel like that's something that I need to like come back to a lot later in life. But we'll have to see how the cookie crumbles. I don't know. I was between Wim Tim and that one for querying, and I chose Wim Tim. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense because like I don't know, I feel like the pitch for Wim Tim hits harder, but I think they're both good. And that's why I think it's so annoying with all of the pitches of just life because I feel like there's some really solid books like Reasons Why Not To that have like some heavy hitting moments, that could really speak to people, but people want this one sentence like snappy pitch that I don't know, does something crazy. So, which like I get it. It's marketing. It all makes sense. It just sucks because I feel like sometimes they probably pass over some really good material because they're like, I don't know how I'm gonna market this. And
Yeah,
I feel like there is ways to market some of these things. They just have to think a little harder. And I think that's unfortunate. So,
it really is.
but my hope is like down the line, like if you find that one that just gets their attention, like hopefully my hope for you is that they would like you have a backlog. I feel like that's super cool.
Hmm.
And obviously they'd probably want to like change some things and like make revisions, but you have like a lot of material for them to work with. And then
Yes.
new ideas. Like you get a lot of ideas, which I've been getting a lot more ideas. I
Really? Oh
I have like a whole file in my phone
my God.
and I think I got like 7 or 8 that just have come recently. So and I'm writing it down because I've realized they disappear.
Hmm.
And what I've really noticed is like I'm getting hit with these tiny little things, just like the thing that happened with Ghost Book. It was, I mean, thought I saw a ghost. I don't know how I didn't mention this. I thought I saw a ghost. I had to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. I was at my parents' house and I look down to where their bedroom is, and I think I see a figure of this woman in a white dress, the classic look, with dark hair. I think I see her walking into their bedroom, so I scream and I turn the lights on. And for me, next day I'm like Googling, what does this image usually mean? Because the likelihood is I probably made this up, you know. I believe in ghosts, so I'm
Mhm.
not gonna fully discount it. But I look it up and it's like it's a symbol of possession. So like that's when I start spiraling because I've always been really interested in characters who get possessed, like something is taking over their brain. And that's
Mhm.
what I did explore that in my fantasy book in
Mhm.
ways that I never really explained to you. So, and I guess I'll keep it close to my chest, but I really love the idea of like an internal battle with yourself and like
Mhm.
this thing that just won't leave you alone. And like I feel like the classic thought of that is a ghost or like a demon, a bad spirit that is just latched onto you. So, and that just grew. Like I really started growing and like I brought so many elements of things that I loved into this. So it's kind of like a bunch of different books that I really like thrown together into my own little thing. Um, so yeah, I'm really just trying to get all my lists together because I feel like I could take these tiny ideas and even like what you said, some of my past stuff, like maybe just
Mhm.
take something from it and like something else could grow that could be way
Absolutely.
better. So I'm just excited because I'm like
I'm
ready to
excited
put
for
the
you.
work in a way like I haven't in years because I need something creative right now. Like that's what
Mhm.
I've been missing out on. So we know we've been talking for quite some time. We obviously have a lot to share about our writing and our current projects and things that we're excited about. And that's why we made this podcast. We're going to be coming to you, I think, every 2 weeks. So you'll be hearing from us, and we really want to give you updates on what we're currently working on. Brittany's currently outlining a book right now, and she's
Oh
going to
my
be
god,
drafting soon. I know you haven't talked about that. You should
I haven't.
give us a little something about that
Oh
before
my,
we move on.
I don't know how I forgot about that. I think it's because I had
I
too many
know.
things to talk about. It just kind of
You did. You have
right
a
over
lot
my
of
head.
projects.
Damn. Okay, so the book I'm currently working on, I'm currently outlining another YA romance. It's a Valentine's Day themed book. It's another fake dating.
Of course, it's
I
good.
can't I can't help it. It hits every time. So in this one, my main character gets broken up with by her boyfriend at the very beginning of the book, and her friends are like, "Oh my God, we should totally kind of scheme together to make him jealous." And there's like a rose delivery happening at the school for Valentine's Day, so they're like, "We should totally send you some roses, pretending it's from a new boyfriend." And my main character is like, absolutely not. That is so stupid. I have no interest in dating somebody else. I just want him. Like, I don't want to do this. Her friends do it anyway behind her back,
Of
and
course.
she ends up having to get a fake boyfriend, and she ends up going to her childhood best friend slash current neighbor. They are neighbors. We love a good neighbors
Mhm.
romance, bringing it back. I feel like we haven't seen that in quite a while. Um, and they end up fake dating. He's low key been in love with her his whole life. And so
Yay.
he's like taking this opportunity.
Of course he has to.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah. So they end up fake dating and falling in love.
I just realized both of our books are neighbor romances
Wow,
because
look at this.
my two characters grew up as neighbors, and there's been some time apart because some wild shit and murders went down in their town. My character needed to leave for a while, but she's back because murders are happening again, of course. Um, and they're neighbors. So
Wow,
we both have neighbors, friends to lovers.
we're
So I
so in
love that.
sync.
We
Damn.
are. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Okay.
Well,
Well, that's cool. We're
yeah.
both going to be drafting. When do you think you're starting drafting?
Beginning of May, I hope. So by the time this episode goes out, I should currently be drafting the book, which is super scary because I have not drafted since my adult romance, which I think was in
Wow.
I've been in revision mode on WimTim for the rest of that time and trying to figure out a new project to work on. I just could never commit to one. No ideas were coming. I felt very creatively stifled the last few years. I've been dealing with burnout and dealing with, pushing myself during my querying journey that has led to a huge writing slump and burnout. So I've just finally been able to be fully creative again to come up with a new project. So yeah,
That's
hoping
exciting though.
hoping to draft in May. Super excited, super nervous. Drafting is my least favorite part of the process. So
Yeah, I feel like I'm realizing that about me. Because it's like, one, I've never really let myself fully revise. It
mhm,
scared me. But now I feel so excited at the idea of just cleaning things up since I do go so wackadoodle and change everything. I
mhm.
can't wait for it to make sense and I can
Yep.
share it to somebody. Like, I
Me.
just want that. Yes. I feel like that's going to be so exciting.
Mhm.
But to wrap it up, next time that we're back, we should both be drafting and we'll have updates on how things are going with our neighbor romance. And I'm excited because this is going to keep us accountable. Like, I have not
It
written this week or last week. So, oops.
is.
I am 20,000 words into the draft though,
Yay.
and I'm hoping to be done in July, but we'll see how that goes.
I'm hoping to be done in June, but
You're crazy.
I draft quite quickly and I draft underwritten. So
I
just keep
want
that in
to
mind.
draft underwritten. Like I'm trying to do that so hard
There are
because
pros and cons to overwriting and underwriting. Like I have to then
yeah,
fill in a bunch of shit, whereas you can just like find out what's, just filler. You can cut things out. So
that
there's
hurts
pros
so
and
bad
cons.
though.
It does. Like I said, pros and cons, right?
Yeah. Which that's what I was gonna point out is I feel like our pairing is interesting as we continue this podcast because we have very different takes and genres.
Hmm.
So for us to discuss our process and different things of crafting the story and the characters, I think we're interesting. So
I would
tune
hope
in
so.
for next time. Tune in. We'll be back. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We do have a video podcast on YouTube, but also follow us on whatever on the podcast stuff. I don't know how it works, but make sure to follow us so you don't miss the next one because we're pretty cool, I think.
I think so.
We definitely are.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see y'all later.
See you next time.